That day, the north was in a huge storm, with pouring rain accompanied by strong winds that roared continuously. The wind blew everything on the road, the trees swayed, and soon there were cracking sounds. Each large ancient tree could not withstand the pressure of nature and broke and overturned. The scene was truly desolate. The withered treetops lay scattered everywhere, blocking the road, pressing on the roofs, breaking the electric wires, and obstructing traffic. The once peaceful village had now become a battlefield after the hurricane. News of the big storm and the heavy damage quickly spread throughout the village. People were panicking, everyone was worried because the fallen trees were blocking the road, endangering daily life. In an emergency, the villagers immediately contacted the tree sawing team of Mr. Tuan, a skilled sawyer known throughout the area. Upon receiving the news, Mr. Tuan immediately made a plan with his team to move to the scene to urgently handle the situation of trees lying in disarray after the storm. It was early morning, but the sky was still gloomy, with dark clouds still lingering across the sky. Mr. Tuan, wearing his familiar dark green protective gear, carefully checked the chainsaw and necessary tools. His team, including longtime colleagues such as Mr. Hung, Mr. Nam, and his young brother Min, were all experienced in handling fallen trees. They quickly gathered at the meeting point near the village gate, ready for a day of hard work. When they arrived at the scene before their eyes surprised everyone. Decades-old trees, which used to be the symbol of the village, were now lying collapsed everywhere. The large banyan tree at the entrance of the village, with a trunk so large that it took 3 or 4 people to hug it, was completely uprooted, lying across the road. The ancient banyan tree next to the communal house had its trunk broken in half, and large branches had fallen onto the tiled roof of the communal house, causing severe damage. The people stood around, watching with worried eyes. Without hesitation, Tuan commanded his team to get to work immediately. First, the team split into groups to handle different areas. Hung and Nam were in charge of the banyan tree at the communal house, while Tuan and Min went to handle the large banyan tree at the beginning of the road. The sound of chainsaws rumbled everywhere. The sound of wood being cut into pieces was clearly audible in the quiet space after the storm. Tuan held the chainsaw in his hand, moving skillfully and experiently, cutting the banyan tree into small pieces for easy moving. Under his command, Min quickly cleaned up the small branches and tree branches that had fallen everywhere. The saw strokes were sure and decisive, skillful as if he had memorized all these operations for a long time. At the village communal house, Hung and Nam were carefully cutting the large tree branches that were pressing on the roof of the communal house. They had to be careful because any mistake could cause more damage to this ancient communal house. After the branches were separated, the two brothers worked together to lift each large piece of wood to the ground, avoiding collapsing the remaining roof sections. While working, Tuan did not forget to chat and encourage everyone. Every time a heavy branch was lowered safely, he would smile and say, "It's done, as easy as eating a meal," which eased the tension somewhat. Min, although still young and inexperienced, gradually became more confident under the guidance of Tuan and his older brothers. Every time he finished a part of the work, he would joke, "I thought this tree was very big, but it turns out it was just my breakfast." After many hours of hard work, the large trees were neatly cut into pieces. Tuan's sawing team finished their work while chatting and joking, creating a light atmosphere despite the hard work. When everything was almost done, the villagers brought hot tea and some cakes to thank the sawing team. The sounds of thanks echoed everywhere. Everyone was relieved to have escaped the dangerous situation. Tuan, after taking a sip of hot tea, smiled and looked around. Although the scene was still a bit desolate with neatly cut trees, he knew that in the next few days, everything would return to normal. New trees would grow again, the roads would be clear, and the peaceful village would continue its daily life. At the end of a hard but meaningful day of work, Tuan's sawing team packed up their tools and headed home, leaving behind a village that had just been revived after the storm. On the way home, the last rays of sunlight gradually appeared through the remaining treetops, promising a more peaceful tomorrow, and a countryside that would be full of life again.